Okay. They also posted it on the NSA's internal website. The government argued that the schedule should have been classified. So it's marked unclassified. And they said this should have been classified. And Drake, you should have known this should have been classified. So they don't say to Hillary Clinton, you should have known these conversations with other heads of state should have been classified. They don't say that to her. But they say that to him about a schedule of meetings. They said, this marked unclassified. They say, you should have known this was classified. And we're going to put you away for the rest of your life. I want to play a quick excerpt from the interview I had with Thomas Drake last August.
And so they came after me with everything they had. And ironically enough, it's the very documents that in whole or in part I had given to government investigators looking at Thin Thread, Trailblazer, and 9/11 intelligence. And they're all unclassified. And so ultimately, they took them. They forced classification review, decided they were super top secret, that many of them would cause exceptionally grave damage to the United States of America, the national security of the United States, if it was disclosed. And then it took them from November 2007 all the way until April of 2010, now under Obama, not under Bush, but under Obama, to find a way to indict me. And they indicted me under the 1917 World War I era Espionage Act.
And that's, of course, been a favorite of the Obama administration. He's indicted more people under that act than all the previous presidents for the past 100 years combined. Lanny Brewer was the one who oversaw your prosecution. Of course, he was the one who let the banks who were doing money laundering for drug cartels and terrorists, he let them go, saying they were too big to jail. Yeah, that's a patriot right there, folks. Thomas Drake. He put everything on the line. He lost everything. He lost his job, his pension, paid the financial price, almost went to jail for 35 years. And look at, again, documents that were marked unclassified. And they said, you should have known they should have been secret. And we're going to say that's the case. It should have been secret, should have been more highly classified, and you should have known that. Another one that wasn't marked classified at all, and then they classified that day. And then they unclassified it 3 months later. And as his trial came to the day that it was supposed to begin, they dropped all the charges against him because it had become public. Let's go to Joe and FEMA. Joe, you want to weigh in on this? Go ahead. FEMA 2.
Yesterday, watching Alex talk to Ron Paul, trying to bring him over to Trump's, I guess, support or momentum, I noticed something about Ron Paul that was a little bit disturbing. I've been supporting him for years, and I'm a firm believer in Austrian economics, and I've also been to libertarian meetings up here in New York, and I won't digress on that. But anyway, when Alex hit Ron Paul point blank with supporting Trump, I really noticed Ron Paul going to a rant. Oh, he's all over the place. You never know what he's going to say. He flip-flops. He changes his mind. Almost sounded like a woman. I don't mean that disrespectfully, but I kind of think that it might be a good idea if you can get those two in a room together, perhaps, because it's imperative that Donald Trump support of Ron Paul. It's imperative, and I don't know what's going on with Ron Paul. I mean, I diligently supported him, watched him get shot down, watched the media laugh in his face, watched the mainstream media laugh in his son's face, watched everybody degrade him, deplore him, and now here's a situation where I understand it's a little bit different than the former Austrian economics and the let's say, schooling that Ron Paul had, but Donald Trump happens to be somebody that can really help us. I don't necessarily agree with everything that he does.
Well, I agree. I think that, when you look at the candidates, you're not going to find somebody that agrees with you on all points. Never, okay? And I understand there's a lot of points of disagreement between Ron Paul, between libertarians, and between Donald Trump. I have those points of disagreement as well, but you have to also understand, and I would hope that Ron Paul would understand, the vital issue before us right now, where we do have a choice, and it may be a Hobson's choice, but it is still a choice. It's a clear choice, and that is globalism versus nationalism. As I've said before, as decisions are taken away from the individual and given to the local community, as they move from the local community to the state level, then from there to the national level, every time you go up another level, every time those decisions get more distant from the individual, it's harder and harder to get those things back. We're at the point right now where we've had so much of our decisions in our lives being made at the national level. They've intruded themselves into every aspect of our lives. And I have to say that if we now go from the national level to the international level, if we give up and surrender our sovereignty, and Ron Paul knows that NAFTA isn't free trade. I mean, we can have a debate about the abstract issues of free trade and Austrian economics and so forth, but it's not free trade. And Ron Paul has said that NAFTA is not free trade. He said you don't need a 1,000-page agreement to have free trade. You just have free trade, right? You take down the barriers. But what it is managed trade. And now what we're seeing is something that is many times larger than that. And it's not even economically based, but just if you look at the economics, I mean, of course, it controls our internet freedoms and other issues. But even if you look at the economics, these decisions are going to be made economically. They're going to control our economy. It's going to be made by an organization that is not accountable to us. As Senator Sessions has pointed out, it will be a living document, which means that whatever the 5,000 pages initially say, they can change it just like that, okay? No input or questioning or control from us. And so I would think that that would be a big issue. To me, that's a key reason to vote for Donald Trump, even though I disagree with him on things like torture and so forth and how they would prosecute the war on terror. But there are reasons, strong reasons, to vote against globalism. I mean, that is crony capitalism that we will never get back. I mean, do you agree?
Yes, I do. But I also think it's imperative that these two get together somehow, and because they're fighting for the same thing, it might not be spelled out the same way, but meanwhile, it's their camp divided right now. And Donald Trump needs the momentum that Ron Paul could afford him if he just says, okay, I understand this guy's not really my cup of tea, but it's better than Hillary. I mean, it's much better.
Yeah.
And we can get them into a room together somehow, like, I don't know, two disputing couples or something. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what's going on in the Libertarian Party either. I mean, I'm looking at this article. Gary Johnson says Hillary is no criminal. And Gary Johnson comes out and says, I'm not a stone thrower when it comes to Hillary Clinton, their emails or server. I don't think there's been any criminal intent on Hillary Clinton's part. I don't see an indictment. It's like, really? I mean, Gary Johnson has become a stalking horse for Hillary Clinton. Since when does the rule of law not matter? Since when does the Constitution not matter? Since when do we have double standards for the big guys and the little guys, okay? Why is that not an issue for a libertarian? That was a core issue when I was involved in the Libertarian Party. We really did care about the rule of law. And it was interesting in this article, it was from the Libertarian Republic. They talk about a CNN town hall, and they did a word association game with Gary Johnson and William Weld, who's running with him. And they threw out and said, Hillary Clinton. And Johnson comes back and says, a wonderful public servant. Really? I mean, who else would say this? Absolutely amazing. Bill Wells says, old friend, and then says, we have a lifelong bond, okay? Then they throw out Obama's name, and Johnson says, good guy. Weld says, statesman-like. You know what I think? I think the real word association would be when they throw out names like Hillary Clinton and Obama, it would be Goldman Sachs, ka-ching, ka-ching. Here's where my payoff comes. Here's where I get the money from the Koch brothers and Goldman Sachs. Here's where I get my government subsidy if I get above 5%. I'm really disgusted with the Libertarian Party. And I got to say that at the same time, I've seen the Green Party, with whom I agree with virtually nothing, have the integrity to come out. This is Jill Stein, says that Hillary Clinton should be prosecuted. She said all the elements necessary to prove felony violation were found by the FBI investigation and then listed by Comey. She said her staff has said Secretary Clinton stated she will use her private email system because she didn't want her personal emails to become accessible. She said this is damning on 2 counts, Jill Stein said, that she intended to disregard the protection of security information and that she had personal business to conceal. Look, I totally disagree with her. There's much that I would agree with on policy with the Libertarian Party, not necessarily Gary Johnson. But we've got to start with integrity. If the people are crooks, we don't have any. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight. We have a couple of callers who called in about Guccifer. Evidently, there's some reports online. We haven't been able to verify those yet, that Guccifer died in jail. Of course, Guccifer was the hacker who broke in. I think it was one of the first indications of Hillary Clinton's private emails, but he also got Bush, Colin Powell, Tony Blair talking about the Bohemian Grove and so forth and so on. He's not even an engineer, software engineer. This is a guy who just made educated guesses at passwords and worked his way in and got these emails. It really does underscore just how vulnerable Hillary Clinton's emails were. And it underscores why we should not have this double standard, folks. Everything that our government has done for the last 15 years has been in the name of the security state. And they have eviscerated the rule of law. They have eviscerated the Constitution in the name of the security state to keep us safe. And yet she has information that is above top secret. Information that not only gives private conversations about people, but also puts people in the field, puts their lives directly at risk. And she walks. How can they, with a straight face anymore, continue to violate our Constitution? Okay, they can't even make the weak case that they made before. Real quickly, just want to remind you, we have 20% off Survival Shield X2, all Alexa Pure water filters, all Alexa Pure air filters. That's an extension of the July 4th mega specials, and we have 20 to 40% off all InfoWars Select storable food. Now, let me go to one of the callers about Guccifer. Mike in New Mexico. Go ahead, Mike. What do you know about this, and what's your source?
How's it going, Dave? I just heard about that last night, and I was trying to figure a way to talk to you guys, but I don't know if it's true or not, but I haven't seen anything really disproving it, but it said something along the lines of he was missing, and then they found him and he had committed suicide, and I just thought I would hear Alex ranting and raving about it.
Was he was he lifting weights? Did he drop like a dumbbell on his neck or something like that? UN ambassador that was going to embarrass Hillary Clinton. I mean, we've got it's it is believable that something like this could happen because he was at the center of all of this, but I can't verify that it has yet. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell everyone too, if you guys haven't tried the products yet, you don't know what you're missing. I tried them 3 years ago. Started with the Nascent Iodine. Now I'm using the X2. I've tried the Super Male, the D3. The Tangy Tangerine, I know the Mineral Fusions are real similar to Tangy Tangerine, the Brain Force, the Silver Bullet, water filter, Oxycontin. I mean, those things have changed my life. More energy, I feel better, I'm more positive in general. Yeah, I mean, that's what I was trying to call and just talk about that.
Well, I'm glad to hear that it's working for you. I tell you what, I do it, and it works for me, and there's a limit as to what I can say, but I certainly, it is something we do our best to offer you the best quality products, and that's the way we fund our operations. What keeps us independent, so we're not at the mercy of someone who can pull the rug out from under us if they don't like a report that we did. So that's the way you keep the information free. That's the way you provide for your own health and that of your family as well. Thank you so much for letting us know that. Let's go to Colin in Oklahoma. Colin, you've been holding for a while. Go ahead. We've only got a couple of minutes left. Real quick.
Yeah, hi, David.
Hey.
My biggest thing is about all this that I haven't heard anybody really bringing up yet. There's the possibility of Hillary actually getting into the White House becomes more and more of a likelihood. People are, myself and everybody in my neck of the woods, and
we got about 30 seconds.
You guys and everything.
Go quick.
People don't know what to do. Leave the country is definitely not an option for me. I think state secession, going to what you said before about everything moving away from the individual, I think the states is where we need to get our rights back first of all. And nobody's saying that. I think the speed.
And I agree. I think the play at this point is to try to stop it from getting more consolidated and then try to work at the grassroots level. Jury nullification, state nullification, get our freedom back that way. I agree. Join us tonight, 7 Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for the InfoWars Nightly News. Jakari Jackson will be hosting.